Welcome in, everybody, to At the Book here on bet.nola.com, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. I'm Zach Ewing, Devin Jackson, and Jim Derry alongside. Jim is live at the Caesars Sportsbook in Harrah's, New Orleans today. And we will be joined in a few minutes by Jeff Duncan as well, who's going to share with us some NFL wildcard wisdom, or is it wisdom? We'll let Jim decide.
Well, I'm beating him, so whatever. Bring him on.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff went 7-1 last week. Jim went 8-0 in the cash in with Carville. So
7-1 just not good enough.
That's right. I mean, you were just a rock solid on North Dakota State minus 7.5. I know that was.
I faded Devin Jackson.
The sharp pick of the year, right there. So we will have Jeff Duncan on in a little while. We'll also talk to James Carville. And we'll go through the wild card picks. We'll go through a little bit of basketball, both on the college side and NBA. And we also have some exciting news for you, and that's where we want to start. Caesars Sportsbook has upped the ante, if you will. When the app goes live later this month, we are told by all sources it will be by the end of January. If you sign up for the Caesars Sportsbook app, and you can do that right now. You don't have to wait for betting to go live. You just can't bet until it's live, but you can download the app. They will give you $300 if you go to NOLA.com/Caesars, sign up through our bonus code, which is NOLANEW, and you'll just get it. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. You get $300. And then on top of that, when you deposit money, they'll match your deposit all the way up to $3,000. So if you feel like playing with $3,000, you're going to get $3,000. If you feel like playing with $500, you're going to get $500 plus the $300 bonus. And by the way, if you've already signed up, if you're one of our loyal listeners, Caesars is going to honor this bonus and give it to you as well. So just have to wait for the mobile launch. But that's pretty exciting, guys. I mean, honestly, it's the best, but it is the best bonus in the business.
There's no question. And I was looking at some of the others, and no one has anything that's anywhere around that. So that is definitely a good bonus. We just need to figure out so we can share with our viewers and listeners how to get it if you've already made your deposit like me and already signed up like me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be automatic, but we're still checking on that end of it. It's just some technical things that need to be checked off. But if you haven't signed up, what are you waiting for? NOLA.com/Caesars, $300 bonus plus a deposit match of up to $3,000. So in the meantime, we finished up Big Bucks last week. Speaking of games and speaking of Jim patted himself on the back. Yeah, Uncle Big Nick told us 30 seconds. Jim patted himself on the back. This is where we get to put the dunce hat on Jim Derry a little bit. Although he did have a good final week. Let's look at the final week of Big Bucks, and it is we actually beat Devin. Maybe we should just start over and count this as week one, Jim.
I'm all about it, even though I hate giving you the lead. I would definitely do that.
just so that Devin has a 0 next to his name for
exactly.
Once. But Devin, Montana State cost you there, and you were at 0 for the week. But as we'll see in the next slide, clearly beat our pants off over the course of the season.
Yeah, the final couple weeks really were not great ones for me, but I'm happy to take the season victory and just take it at that, and then I tried to get a little risky with the Montana State, and it's backfired, and I know I won't hear the end of that one.
Yeah, you had a chance to get over 3,000. For those who didn't follow it all year long, we started Big Bucks with $2,000 of fake money, advocate bucks, if you will. And Devin got all the way up to 29, 27, as you see. And these are our biggest picks of the year. And Devin's best pick of the year, he won $70 on the Rams covering minus 13 over the Jaguars back in week 13. And then 77, besides North Dakota State, also lost betting on Akron. But that's you think that's silly to lose money on Akron and Montana State, but that's how Devin built his fortune too. So going back to this week, Jim, you were all over Georgia, as was I. Those were our big picks of the week. Your teaser let you down yet again. And you owe me a root beer, by the way.
Oh, no way. You better count that again.
Oh, count it. I got the spreadsheet, my man.
Okay, you can get a spreadsheet. I'll go back in time, but there's no way. I can tell you one thing. Whether it's with this or whatever, Teaser's has been very, very kind to me this year. And
not in Big Bucks.
Well,
not in Big Bucks.
I don't know about that. We'll have to go back and look. I don't know that I believe that. Anyway, you talk about Georgia. I mean, to me, and it did come down. It was a lot closer than the score indicated, but it's like we said. I mean, you talk about a team that really was going to play a lot different than they played the first time because we knew that they didn't show them everything. They were going to be able to. You would think they were going to be able to pressure Bryce Young a little bit more. They forced him into turnovers, unlike they were the first time. So, I really like this bet. I probably should have just gone with the spread and probably maybe bet a little bit more, but I was trying not to get too greedy. I was worried about a funky score. There was a funky score, and for a while it looked like my hedge and all my futures and everything else was going to hit. Then at the end it kind of got a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the money line I think was still a good bet because even though it ended up being a 15-point game, if Alabama scores instead of throwing that pick at the end and then misses the 2-pointer, it ends 28-26, and you don't want to be laying those 2.5 in a weird score like that. So that's a good point. But I did like Georgia to cover, and I thought they played kind of nervous in the first half, a little panicky. Their play calling was weird. They didn't run the ball enough. But then once they kind of got into the game, Alabama had some chances to really get out to a pretty big lead and didn't take advantage. And then Georgia really put the hammer down in the second half.
Yeah, I think the same thing, but I also think that they were kind of feeling their way a little bit, especially on offense. They get, Kirby Smart could say whatever he wants, but he was not going to let Stetson Bennett do anything that was going to kill him. And I think just letting Stetson Bennett feel his way through the game a little bit. And I don't know what it was about that last turnover or the only turnover, the one where the fluky thing where the Alabama guy didn't even know it was a turnover and he just kind of scooped it up on the sideline. Whatever that was, woke Stetson Bennett up. And he was a different quarterback after that. And hey, I mean, whatever spark Georgia needed, that was a good one.
And Alabama missing its wide receivers didn't help. I mean, I don't want to discount that factor. They were missing their top two guys. Probably could have made some more plays. But in the end, Georgia gets the bet. Our season-long bets, Jim, your best bet was this Georgia money line, $100. The one that lets you down the most, and also let the New Orleans Saints down the most. They win that game, and they're in the playoffs right now. But, yeah.
Well, we said back then that was going to be the loss that could come back to bite him, and it obviously proved. So we'll talk to Dunk about it in a little bit. But that game and the Falcons game, you win either one of those games during the playoffs.
So our betting expert Jim Derry, just to recap, started with $2,000 and ended the year with $342. So I won't pick on him too. It just goes to show you this is hard. It's hard. And by the way, Jim also risked a lot more. I mean, if you look at my biggest bets were $55 bets, and I went 4 and 3 in those throughout the course of the year. So that was what I went with. But I'm what you call a grinder. I mean, I like to just bet a little bit here and there and pick and choose. And if I really see something I like, I'm still not going to bet the bank on it because weird things happen. And I was able to turn a profit of about 6% there. So not too bad at 21-24. So I'll take it. With that said, let's talk some NFL wild card, and let's bring on Jeff Duncan. And he is going to be our pro for Beat the Pros, and we'll explain about that here in just a minute. But in the meantime, welcome, Jeff.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going pretty well, man, unless you're Jim Derry in big bucks. Then you're in the poorhouse.
You keep bringing up big bucks, but in Carville, I'm 30 games above 500 or whatever it is against the spread, which is pretty hard to do. I mean,
that's why I'm bringing up big bucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I'm almost 30 games above 500 in against the spread in Carville, and I don't get to pick those games. You guys pick them.
JD, how do you go 8-0 and win our picks against Carville, and then you're the worst in this? You can't handle it
because I like that. Because I know Zach has a rough life, and so anything I can do to put a smile on his face, I do. But I'm not going to let it go in Carville.
That's a good explanation. I like that. But it is pretty amazing, Jeff. You went 7-1 in Carville last week, and you're 2 games behind Jim, and you lost ground. Now you're 3 behind.
That'd be 3. Yeah, 3.
I know. Trust me, I was not happy about that because I thought I'd made my move. But JD, I think he stays up all night studying. He probably calls the general managers and the coaches on these things. I don't have time for all that.
No, it's kind of like baseball. Whenever Duncan starts talking smack, that's what really fires me up. And I think Duncan was up by like 3 or 4 games. And as soon as he started talking smack, just like baseball, down, baby, down.
Yeah.
We'll see. They've got a couple weeks left. We got the playoffs to go. And by the way, Jim changes his mind on stuff. On Monday, he was talking about how he thought the Steelers were going to get blown out. And then today he sends me a text. I'm picking all the underdogs except for the Steelers. So
It's true. After you do a handicap, you can't just go with what comes in your head. I'm not Aunt Mabel or Drunk Joe. A lot of times I see things. I was all over Frisco on Sunday evening. Then when I started doing the handicap, it didn't work out that way. I like Dallas.
Well, if you are interested in doing some handicaps, you can play what we call our Beat the Pros contest. And there are 6 of them throughout the year. We talked about it, the college football New Year's 6 and the college football playoff. That was with Leah Van. We're on to the NFL playoffs with Jeff Duncan. Now, if you beat Jeff, you are eligible to win a weekend stay for 2 at Harrah's New Orleans, right where Jim is. And if you play all of the contests with us, there are 4 more after this: March Madness, the Masters, the NBA playoffs, and then the Major League Baseball playoffs. If you play all of them and you are the grand prize winner, you could win a weekend stay for 2 at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. So Jeff is going to be your competition for the NFL playoffs, starting with the wild card round. So, Jeff, let's get to it. We're going to start with Saturday's first game, 3:30 p.m., Raiders at Bengals. I happen to think they usually slip some nothing game in the Saturday afternoon slot. I happen to think this might be the best matchup of the whole weekend, second best at least.
Yeah, I thought it was a hard game to pick because I think a lot comes down to how Cincinnati treats the game. I think they're clearly better. They just beat the Raiders handily. I think it was about 5 weeks ago, dominated that team. But they've had a tendency, guys, to overlook some opponents when they have these big wins. Look, the Saints have done that this year. We see it happens in the NFL. You have that kind of lay an egg game. And look, this is the first time they've been in the playoffs in a long time, so I doubt that's going to happen. But for some reason, my gut is they're not going to take the Raiders all that seriously, and I think they win the game. But 5.5 points is a lot. The Raiders are playing pretty well. And the concern I might have in taking the Raiders in this game is that the Raiders are just emotionally crapped out after that epic game last week against the Chargers, and the Bengals just steamroll them. That could happen, but I'm erring on the side of caution, kind of philosophically on all these playoff games. I think it's such a wide open year, and teams are so close. I don't really feel like there's a dominant team. I think you're on. If you're doing it strategically, you're better off just taking the points, because I think these games, a lot of them are going to be upsets when they're not really upsets against the line.
Tim, you like the Bengals though.
I really like the
Bengals.
No,
you're talking about JD?
Yeah.
Why do you like them,
Yep.
JD? Tell me why, JD.
There are a couple reasons, actually. You touched on one of the points. The Raiders coming off of that just emotionally draining victory just to get into the playoffs. Well, now they got to come on a short week. And the NFL or TV or whoever picked this game and put it in this time slot did not do the Raiders any favors whatsoever, making them play the first game after they played the last game last week. And, and really the Bengals had a bye week last week. I mean, they lost the game, but they didn't care. It didn't matter.
Right.
And they played like it didn't matter. And so Burrow's had a week to rest. So is most of the team. Joe Mixon ran all over the Raiders the first time they played him, and now the Raiders are without one of their top defensive linemen. I think the Bengals actually win this game handily. I think they win by 10 or more. And I can't understand why, I get the whole that they've overlooked teams here and there, but I can't imagine anyone overlooking a team in the playoffs unless you're talking about the Chiefs and the Steelers or the Bucks and the Eagles. Other than that, no one can afford to overlook anyone. And I think the fact that the Bengals haven't won a playoff game since 1990 has been reverberating over and over and over and over again. And I think the Bengals come out and play very well on Saturday.
I mean, I agree with everything you said, Jim, and I do think the Bengals have a chance. And listen, somebody pointed this out on Twitter. Joe Burrow in his last 5 must-win games, right? Weeks 16 and 17 of this season, and then going back to LSU, Alabama, then the semifinal and the final. He has been just exquisite. I mean, just unbelievably good. However, I'll give you a technical reason why I like the Raiders, and that's because Burrow, as good as he has been, he's been the top quarterback in the NFL in yards per attempt against the blitz this year. But if the opposing defense does not blitz, He's a little bit below average, actually. And the Raiders blitz the least of any team in the NFL.
Hence
So,
why Mixon's going to have a good day.
I mean, it could be Mixon instead. But if you're expecting Burrow to go out there and throw for 450 yards, I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think it's going to be a close game. It's also going to be freezing cold. It's supposed to be like 10 degrees. I see a low-scoring game.
That one's more like 28.
Is it okay? I think I'm confusing it with Buffalo then. But yeah, it's going to be cold. I see a low-scoring game. I think the Bengals win too. I like getting the points though. Devin, break a tie for us, man. Who do you like here?
I like the Bengals to win, but I do think the Raiders will play much better than people are expecting them to play. I know they're coming off a short week, but I mean, when you look at what this team has done, despite everything that's kind of been around this team with John Gruden's firing, multiple DUIs on the team, I think Derek Carr comes ready to play in this playoff game. He's heard a lot that he shouldn't be the quarterback of the Raiders, that, they don't know if he's going to be in the long-term plan. So I think you get an epic quarterback duel here, and I think they take him down to the wire. So I like the Raiders with the points, but I like the Bengals to win.
We're going to keep rolling here and move on to the Saturday night game. We'll try to go through these a little bit faster in the interest of time. Patriots at the Bills on Saturday night. The Bills are laying 4 points here. This is the one that it's supposed to be down around 10 degrees, similar actually to the first time these teams played in Orchard Park, except that one was a lot windier than this one is supposed to be. Jeff Duncan, where are you going here?
I end up taking the points again in this game. I think a lot comes down to that wind, though, you're talking about, Zach, because when the wind is not a factor, the Patriots have had trouble stopping Josh Allen. I mean, he's had huge games against them passing. They've won 3 of their last 4 against New England. The one loss was that crazy 3-pass game by the Patriots on Monday night. So I just think this game could be close. And if the Patriots get a lead early, I think it could get in the head of the Bills. So I'm going to take the points again, just erring on the side of I think this is a toss-up game, and I'll take the underdog.
We'll talk to James Carville a little later, but he said, "You're giving me 4 points and Belichick in the playoffs." Okay.
Right.
Of course, he said the same thing about Saban on Monday. So, it does not always work that way. Moving on to Sunday, Eagles and Buccaneers. These two teams played earlier this year. I believe it was in Philly. It was a 6-point game. This is an 8.5-point spread in Tampa. Any reason to think the Bucs are in trouble here?
Yeah, they haven't played all that well down the stretch. Starting with that game against the Saints, if you really look at it, their competition hasn't been that good. The Eagles, I think, have some confidence right now, but I really think the decided edge at quarterback is going to show in this game. The Eagles like to run the ball. That's their game plan. And this is one of the stingiest front sevens in the league. They haven't played all that great lately, but I expect them to bring their A game. They kind of rested their guys as well down the stretch. And I think they've been waiting for the playoffs in Tampa. They got bigger fish to fry. So I think they shut down the running game, and then that's when Jalen Hurts can get in trouble. And this could get away from Philadelphia. So I actually laid 8.5 points. I know that's a lot of points to lay, but I just think Tampa Bay can blow them out in the second half.
They've definitely done that at home to some teams as well. Moving on to Sunday afternoon, throwback to the mid-'90s when I was growing up, and this was in the playoffs every single year, but 49ers and Cowboys. It's Dallas -3. The Niners are a pretty popular underdog pick here, Jeff.
Yeah, I said this in my column. I like both these teams a lot. As a matter of fact, I think Dallas can win the whole thing. And I think a good bet right now would be put 100 on Dallas to win the Super Bowl because they still have really good odds. I think they have maybe the most talent overall in the entire NFL, and no one's really talking about them. But they got a tough draw. I felt like whoever won a 7th seed between the Saints and 49ers was going to be a tough out. They're both well-coached teams. They're good along both lines. I think San Francisco's got a little bit of mojo going right now. So I worry more about this game. Reminds me a little bit of like an NCAA tournament game where the top seed gets a tough, low seed and they just survive. And then all of a sudden they blow through everybody the rest of the bracket. That's what I think could happen with Dallas here. I think they could have their toughest game in the first game So I'm going with Dallas. I mean, I'm going with San Francisco to cover, but I think Dallas, similar to some of these other games, has trouble covering the spread. So I would take the Niners, and I think the Dallas money line would be a bet.
Jim, this is one you changed your mind on, though. You went to Dallas minus the points.
I did when I went through my handicap, and I agree with Duncan wholeheartedly. I think Dallas is a really good Super Bowl bet right now. No one's talking about them. When just about 8 weeks ago, all the talking heads were saying Dallas is the best team in the league and Dallas is going to win the Super Bowl, and then they played bad for a couple of games, and all of a sudden they stink again. I mean, I understand that they haven't played a lot of great opponents the past few weeks, but that's not their fault. They've done everything they've had to, and they really had the division locked up about 6 weeks ago. So I think Dallas comes out in this game and plays very well. San Francisco has had to win, and I'm not a big fan of teams that have had to basically been in must-win situations for weeks now. And I'm not all that convinced that San Francisco's run defense is all that great. They've had problems in their secondary at times as well. I think Dallas wins this game. I'm not saying they win it by double digits, but I do think they cover. And you're right, I went back and forth on this. And another thing about this, everybody's on San Francisco. All you hear is San Francisco is the team that if you're looking for the low seed to come out and win a game, it's all San Francisco. And I love to fade those guys. And give me Dallas here. It's only 3 points. If it were 3.5 or 4, I might think differently. But at 3, I'll take Dallas and take my chances.
Isn't it weird that the underappreciated team is the Cowboys? Like that's never happened in the history of the NFL.
Really, all season, Zach. Because if you look at their record against the spread, man, I think they're 12-5 against the spread this year.
I think it was 13-4.
13-4. I mean, they're amazing.
By the way, the Cowboys plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl at Caesars Sportsbook, plus 600 to get to the Super Bowl. So you got some. You're going back there afterward, Jim?
Absolutely. I left enough money in my pocket to go make the Jeff Duncan special back there.
Got those kiosks behind you. Devin, this is probably the game of the weekend. What's your take on it?
I think I'm going to disagree with all of you here. I think the 49ers win, and I don't think it's because of necessarily the players on the field. I think the 49ers have a coaching advantage. You look at Mike McCarthy and some of the blunders he's had over the season with time management and whatnot. I think that comes back to haunt them in this game in some way. And when you look at who would you rather have as your coach, I think Kyle Shanahan has the advantage over McCarthy. I think too many times this season, Dallas has been held back by some of the coaching decisions he's made. And I feel like in a game like this where, 49ers kind of match up pretty well, I think, against the Cowboys, I think the 49ers pull an upset here and not only cover but win the game outright. Just because I do think that the 49ers coaching staff and the way they operate and how they've been kind of winning games is controlling the clock, making advantage of opportunities. You look at the Rams 49ers game last week, if they don't get that field goal before halftime, the Saints might be the ones playing in the playoffs this week. So I'm picking that game based on coaching because it's part of winning in the playoffs as well if you can make adjustments. And I like what the 49ers are doing with their coaching staff.
I actually think that's a really good point. I mean, Mike McCarthy, God bless him, the team's very talented. The guy went to one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers in like 12 years. How does that happen? I think he's a liability. Maybe they'll win by enough every week to where it won't make any difference, but I agree with that take a lot.
Jimmy G.
I mean, yeah, he looked pretty good on Sunday.
He's 7-0 when he doesn't throw a pick. He's 2-6 when he does, and Dallas has Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, see, Nick with the Debo jersey, he's on board. He's on board. No, we'll see what happens. I mean, Trayvon Diggs, by the way, leads the league in picks. He also is like near the bottom of the league in yards given up per target. So he's a risk taker. If he doesn't get the pick, he's going to give up yards. So we'll see what happens. Jeff, moving on to the Sunday night game, Steelers and Chiefs. You thought 8.5 was a lot of points for a playoff game. 12.5 here for Kansas City.
I saw something today said that's the biggest spread in the wild card round that we've ever seen. That seems, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I saw it on Yahoo today. And I'm laying them all. That's what's crazy. I I like the Chiefs. It almost feels like a trap to me. They're trying to encourage you to get some money on the Steelers side of things. I like JD's point earlier about the 49ers. I kind of feel like the Steelers are like that. That they've had this Ben Roethlisberger farewell tour, and they've been emotionally invested, and they've made this great run. But I could see that coming to a big end against the Chiefs. I don't know how they're going to stop the Chiefs. They're defensively, I don't see a good matchups at all. We saw the Chiefs, I think, just 3 or 4 weeks ago, bludgeon the Steelers. They were up 23-0 at halftime. It was 30-0 at one point, and I think it could be that way again in Kansas City, in that type of environment. And I could see the Steelers packing it in, kind of happy-go-lucky. Hey, look, we made the run. We got in the playoffs for Ben's last year. Now let's fold up the tents. So I'm laying the points.
Yeah, Jim, I'm going to go to you again because this is one that you also changed your mind on. I'm with Jeff. I think the Chiefs roll. The Steelers' defense has been good, but it's also been playing very limited offenses. This is anything but that. But it is a lot of points.
I had a tough time with this one, and I was originally on Kansas City, but the more I looked at it, the sharps are on Pittsburgh, and I don't necessarily – Pittsburgh's had to fight, and it kind of is contradictory to what I was saying about the other teams. But the difference here is something's wrong with Kansas City. Tyreek Hill's not right. Doesn't seem like him and Mahomes are on the same page. I think the Chiefs are going to run the ball a lot more than they normally would because the Steelers really – they're not so bad in pass defense. They're really not good in run defense. So it kind of goes against what Kansas City likes to do. I probably like the under more than I like Pittsburgh, but since we're forced to take it, I just think that's too many points in a wild card round, and it's tough to see a Mike Tomlin team just laying down in a spot like this. So it's really hard to give that many points. I do think Kansas City wins, and I actually like them in a teaser format because they're only given 6.5. But I can't give 12.5. I'm going to have to take Pittsburgh.
And by the way, the first time they played, T.J. Watt played for Pittsburgh, but he was playing through broken ribs, which are apparently a little bit better now. So maybe that makes a difference. Maybe he gets to him a couple times. I don't know. The first ever Monday night wild card game comes to us 7:15 on Monday. Cardinals at Rams. The Rams are a dirty word for most of Saints fans at this point, but they are at home, and they're 4-point favorites, Dunk.
Yeah, I don't like either one of these teams. Just it's the exact opposite of the Niners-Cowboys game. I wish they could play each other, because I think the Niners and Cowboys could maybe make it to the Super Bowl. That's why I'm deferring and taking Arizona. It's mainly a bet against the Rams, who I think are soft. I'm not a believer in Matthew Stafford. We saw last week. I'm just not a believer in that guy. He hadn't won a playoff game. He's 0 for 3. And, Arizona's started strong. They went through a lull there at the end of the season, really did not finish strong. I think they lost 4 of their last 5, but we might see J.J. Watt on the field. And I think Kyler Murray's a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford, and he'll find a way to win this game. So I'm with Arizona getting the 4.
Before we let you go, Jeff, since we've got you, we'll put you on the spot here on January 13th, 4:30 in the afternoon. The Saints quarterback next year opening night is?
Man, that is putting me on the spot. I guess I'm going to have to go with Jimmy Garoppolo as my long shot Hail Mary, because I think he's going to have to be moved. I know Sean Payton likes him. He went to Eastern Illinois, Sean's alma mater. The Saints were high on him coming out of college. They wanted to draft him, and the Patriots beat him to the punch. And I think he'll be fairly affordable, whereas I think some of these other guys, these pie-in-the-sky options like Russell Wilson, I think that's going to be very costly. I'm not sure the Saints will be in that market. So I think Garoppolo is going to go somewhere, and it kind of makes sense as quarterback needy as the Saints are. And they've got a playoff caliber roster. I don't see them starting over with the draft pick. I think they're going to get a guy like Garoppolo. And I think there's enough ego in Sean Payton to say, I can coach up his faults, and we can win with this guy. So I'll go with Jimmy G.
I want to say something real quick before Dunk goes off. First off, I agree with you 100%. I think that would be a perfect pick for Sean Payton. I could easily see that happen, and they could find a way to make that work a lot easier than some of the other options. Although I still think they're going to do everything they can to get Russell Wilson if it's at all an option. But secondly, and more importantly for you, Jeff Duncan, is you have a real chance to catch me this week because we're on the opposite sides on 5 of 6 games, I think. So
Nice.
you got a great shot.
You see me breathing down your neck, right? You got fear. You're looking back.
No, actually, I'm getting my blinders put on. So when I'm 8 lengths ahead of you at the post,
We'll see.
using your
like
horse racing terms.
Yeah, I like it.
We'll have to see. We got a comment here, Jeff, too, about Jameis Winston. Like, do you feel that he's going to be too expensive also? Because, I mean, a lot of people don't understand Jameis Winston's not under contract for next year. I mean, the Saints would have to pay him as well.
Right. Yeah, look, that's the subject of my column for this weekend's newspaper and online. And the way I refer to Jameis Winston, there was a great movie. I don't know if it's probably before your guys' time, called Beautiful Girls. A few years back, Timothy Hutton was in it. And there was a scene in it where they're talking about women and settling and stuff like that. And the guy's describing his girlfriend. He says, she's personality a 7.5 on a 1 to 10 scale. Looks 7.5. Intelligence 7.5. Everything about her was 7.5. And the guy's still looking for somebody better. And that's the way I feel Jameis Winston is. Like the Saints do not want to move on from Jameis Winston, but I think they're kind of he's a 7.5. We think we can find something better. And I think they're going to go looking for that better option, but yet still consider him to be a fallback option and be very happy if that is your fallback option, because I think they can win with him. But I think they're going to go try and hit a home run. That's the way I would consider Jameis Winston.
All right. No, that's good information. And obviously read Jeff's column on NOLA.com or in the Times-Picayune this weekend. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. And again, you can play against Jeff, Beat the Pros. Go to NOLA.com/Beat the Pros. Make your picks this week and then throughout the NFL playoffs. We'll have you back on. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for having me on. Talk to you soon.
And that is Jeff Duncan. And he is he's on the dogs and you're on the favorites, Jim.
Yeah, I want to say something to a commenter real quick. Courtney Price. Jeff Duncan does not – I don't take over Jeff Duncan very often. Jeff Duncan does not hate Jameis Winston. I can promise you that is not the case. He's giving you his opinion on what he thinks going to happen. He has nothing against Jameis Winston, I promise you. We've talked a lot about this on and off the air on Datitude. He likes Jameis Winston, as do I. But what is the best option for the Saints? And the point about going back to that real quick is I don't know if Jameis Winston is going to want to sign another 1-year contract. He may or may not. So the Saints are going to have to kind of commit to their near future. And I think a 3-year deal with someone at the minimum is going to be on the line here. And having to decide on whether you want Jameis Winston, if you have a choice between Winston and Garoppolo, I really like what Jameis Winston did in his short time and his short, I guess, tryout. I guess the only way to put it. But I take Jimmy G over Winston too, and I may end up being wrong.
And honestly, look, I mean, Winston is probably the most likely of anybody just because he was here. I think he wants to be here. I don't know that he's more than 50-50 to be here, but I think he's the most likely. But we don't even know who's going to be available. We don't know the price on Russell Wilson or if the Seahawks will even make him available. We don't know if Derek Carr will be available. We don't know what else is going to shake down. So
that's right. No one's 50-50, Zach.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. Winston's probably the favorite, but you'd have to put him at probably 3-1.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. Let's go ahead and play Cash In with Carville. For the last time this year, you can play at NOLA.com/cashin'. We are, by the way, James graciously agreed to stay on with us through the Super Bowl, so we're going to talk to him. But as far as his picks that you play against, it was a 19-week setup for the contest, and this is the 19th week. So go pick against him in the wild card, especially if you've been on all year long. There's some pretty good prizes on the line here in the last week. So here is Cash In with Carville for wild card weekend. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Cashing In with Carville. Zach Ewing along here with James Carville, and we are talking wild card weekend in the NFL. First of all, James, we'll get your thoughts on the college football national championship game. A great game, good comeback by Georgia, and finally a different champion.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, for me to stay up and watch the end of a non-LSU game, it's got to be a pretty good game. And that milled in kind of every way that you could. I mean, it was exciting, and it was actually closer than the score looked like it was. You know, when they got that last pick, it was big. But I thought it was a great game. Yeah, and I mean, it just goes to show you, I mean, why the dominance of Southern football. And, you know, good education for Coach Keller to see exactly what you're getting into down here.
I think I saw the stat of the last 24 national champions. Alabama has won 6 of them. The rest of the SEC has won 6 of them. No, I guess it's the last 18, and then everybody else has won 6 of them in the last 18. So. Not sure if we lost everyone there or not. Looks like we're having some technical problems. I think Devin, our producer, may have lost internet service there. So I'm talking to Carville about his NFL wildcard picks. And, you know, quite frankly, he likes a lot of underdogs too. So Jim's on a little bit of an island here, picking some favorites versus the underdogs. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. Some big spreads out there. Of course, the Buccaneers -8.5 and the Chiefs -12.5. To figure out what happened with Devin Jackson there. Yeah, he said his internet did crash. So we're going to try to get Carville for you at the end of the show. But in the meantime, we'll keep talking, and Jim Derry's going to come back here for us, too. One thing I did want to talk about during the show was a little bit of basketball. LSU, of course, a big win on the road last night. We're going to talk to Carville about that, too. They beat Florida at Florida, which is not an easy thing to do, and it's been kind of Will Wade's nemesis. And so that's been a tough thing, and LSU gets to 3-1. They now have wins. As we look at the odds here in the favorites, they already have wins over Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida. And the one loss was to Auburn. So Auburn's kind of taken position as the favorite. We bring on Jim Derry here. Jim, we lost Devin, and so we lost Carville, but you're still there at the book. We're talking a little basketball now. SEC men's basketball odds. And, quite frankly, LSU last night got a win that I didn't expect them to get.
Yeah, and even, honestly, towards the end of the game, it just felt like it was slipping away, right? I mean, they had I think a 12-point lead with 1 point midway through the second half there, and they just let it slip away, but they found a way to win. And I really like this LSU team. I mean, plus 500, I think that is a great price on them to win the SEC. It keeps getting overlooked that over and over again the past few years, they have found a way to win more games than anybody else. I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed or anything like in the SEC. They'll probably end up being the 2 or the 3. But you get that first day off, and then you can make a little run, and you make it so where you play the 1 seed if it's Auburn or whoever, in that championship game. Yeah, I like the LSU's odds at 5-1.
Yeah, I mean that was 9-1 a couple weeks ago, and obviously they've had big wins since then. But I love that. I love that price still at 5-1. I mean, I don't really. I know Kentucky's very talented. I don't really understand them at plus 325. Of course, they only have the one loss as well, and so they turn around and beat Auburn, and we could have a 3-way tie situation. But plus 500, you're getting some terrific odds there on LSU.
With that, Zach, too, if you want to take that, you need to do it now because honestly, after they've got a couple more really tough games, and then they go through a stretch of patsies where they're probably going to end up being 9 or 10-3. So that number is not going to go back up. I mean, they may lose one coming up. I mean, they probably will lose one coming up or something like that. But I think they're going to stay in the top 15 for most of the year. And as they go through the end of January and end of February and that stretch of games where they should win a lot of them, they may end up in the top 10. You're not going to get 5-1 on that much longer.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, you look at their schedule. They have a home game against Arkansas on Saturday. Arkansas has been really up and down. LSU will be favored in that game. And then it's the week after that, and it's next week, January 22nd and 26th, at Tennessee, home against Texas A&M. I'm sorry, January 19th at Alabama, then January 22nd at Tennessee. So at Alabama, at Tennessee. If you can get through that week, even if you lose one of them, split them, you're in really, really good shape because that means if they beat Arkansas this week, they split those two, they're going to be at 5-2, and that's when that schedule gets soft, as you said, and they have a chance to go on a run at that point.
I'd be shocked if they win both of those games, really. But you say, you just win one of two, either one. I mean, Tennessee's turning out to maybe look not as good as a lot of people thought they were going to be, but you win either one of those games, you're good.
And by the way, the LSU women's team finally added to the Caesars Sportsbook futures odds. They had 50 teams listed on there and didn't have LSU. And so I actually sent them a note today. They said, hey, how about LSU? So they did post them at 40-1. So they're 40-1 to win the national title. And Devin Jackson is back, ladies and gentlemen. He's back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My Wi-Fi crashed and had to reboot it, but sorry for the technical difficulties there.
Yeah, and we will get to Carville here momentarily. While we're on the topic of basketball, though, I did want to talk about tonight's game at the Smoothie King Center. The Pelicans, 3.5-point favorites against the Clippers. The Pels have been playing better. There's 7 covers in their last 10. I think it's 6 wins straight up in their last 10, even though they had a real tough stretch in there. And so they're starting to play better. The question is, have they dug themselves too big a hole, and are they going to get Zion back?
I would play as if you're not going to get Zion back. I mean, and I think that's how they have been playing, and they have been playing as well as they can play. I really like the Timberwolves, and I think I texted you guys. I bet the Pels night before last because Minnesota had been coming off of a stretch where they were, I think it was the 6th road game out of 7, and even though they had been on a hot streak, I could see that would be an easy spot to kind of fade the T-Wolves there. But I'm not so sure here. I don't like to bet the Pelicans as a favorite. I don't. They're much easier to bet as an underdog because you can kind of, and what I've been doing when they're dogs or big dogs, especially, you can take the money line and the spread, and you take the spread a little bit bigger than you take the money line that you could still win a little bit if they don't win. But I don't know if I like this spot here tonight. But they have been playing well.
The Clippers have been they've been a little bit up and down, but they've been undervalued by the books as well. They've covered quite a few times as underdogs. It's a tough spot, but it's the type of game the Pelicans need to win if they are going to get into that play-in tournament. It's a home game. Clippers are undermanned. No Kawhi Leonard. No Paul George. I think no Reggie Jackson. Is it Reggie Jackson? They're missing somebody else as well. And so this is a game the Pelicans can win. They are currently just a game and a half out of that number 10 spot to get into the play-in tournament. However, they got to pass 3 teams. They're tied with the Spurs. Got to pass them. They're a half a game behind the Kings. Got to pass them, and then they're a game and a half behind Portland. Got to pass them. And then there's a gap up to Minnesota. They're 5 games behind Minnesota. So it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I agree. And I watched the game the other night, the Pelicans and Timberwolves finish, and a really nice shot there by Brandon Ingram to win the game. But Yeah, it's going to be an uphill climb for the Pelicans. You know, they got to continue to play kind of consistent basketball, and they got to continue to close games because I think they had like a 6 or 8 point lead heading down the stretch of that Timberwolves game before the Timberwolves tied it right before Brandon Ingram hit that shot. So I think they have a chance. I mean, they still have a chance as long as they can continue to stay healthy and get some better play out of some of their younger guys. But Herb Jones has been fantastic defensively for this team, and definitely looking forward to seeing if they're going to be able to continue to compete for a spot. But yeah, they should definitely play as if Zion isn't going to come back because at this point it just seems unlikely.
Yeah, Herb Jones, fantastic though, and not to put down any previous teams. Just seems like this team they play hard for Willie Green. They're a fun team to watch. They're not great, but they're a fun team to watch, and I'd encourage tuning in and seeing what the Pelicans are about. All right, let's play. Let's try again with Cashing In with Carville. The joys of live video. You can go play at NOLA.com/cashing in. We will have to start this video over because of the crash, so apologies for that, but we'll replay the first couple of minutes. Here is Cashing In with Carville. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Cashing In with Carville. Zach Ewing along here with James Carville, and we are championship game. Good comeback by Georgia, and finally a different champion.
Yeah, it was a great game. I mean, for me to stay up and watch the end of a LSU game, it's got to be a pretty good game, and that milled in kind of every way that you could. I mean, it was exciting, and it was actually closer than the score looked like it was. You know, when they got that last pick, it was big. But I thought it was a great game. Yeah, and I mean, it just goes to show you, I mean, why the dominance of Southern football, and you know, good education for Coach Kelly to see exactly what you're getting into down here.
I think I saw the stat of the last 24 national champions. Alabama has won 6 of them. The rest of the SEC has won 6 of them. No, I guess it's the last 18, and then everybody else has won 6 of them in the last 18. So,
well, since the century, I mean, last 18, we've won 3.
Yeah,
we don't have a team ever to win 3 with 3 different coaches.
And that's Brian Kelly hoping to make it 4. So, and you talk about the talent at LSU. Just look at the NFL playoffs. Almost every team has a key player from LSU. You have Leonard Fournette. You have obviously Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, but they're everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh, did you watch that basketball game?
I did. Yeah.
That was a much better win, and the paper kind of played it like they, you know, held on, but we had Pinson out. You know, we had our good Ethan got in foul trouble, and it's a road win, and you know, it wasn't razor thin. It was a good win.
And that's a place where Will Wade, even though as much success as he's had, they've struggled in Gainesville. So to get that win is big.
That's good. Yeah, it's a good. I mean, we're definitely. I don't care what they say with number 12, but that doesn't faze me in college basketball. You got to beat everybody to win, but we're gonna beat a lot of people.
And Pelicans got a buzzer beater the other night, so it's all coming up. Football season's over in South Louisiana, but basketball looks promising. So football season's
college baseball. Don't forget that. That's
college baseball. We're about a month away, so we are getting to that time too. In the meantime, the NFL not quite finished up yet. In fact, the Super Bowl is in exactly a month on February the 13th. We begin the playoffs on Saturday. A couple of AFC games. Let's talk those first. Let's make some picks here. You can pick against James at NOLA.com/cashing-in. The first game of the day, Saturday, is the Las Vegas Raiders traveling to face the aforementioned Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Bengals -5.5.
The Bengals are going to win by 3.
All right, we'll take the Raiders with the points, but a closer game than they played in the regular season. By the way, what did you think of the almost tie there Sunday night?
The what? Which game are you talking about?
The Raiders and Chargers, where a tie would have gotten them both in the playoffs.
Right. I was like, probably I watched that, and I think the Raiders were a little bit better at winning.
Would have had to play the Chiefs if they had tied. Yeah.
Right. So, but I was just so down after the 49er Ram game. I didn't give a shit.
It was a letdown for Saints fans. That is for sure.
It was a letdown. I mean, oh my, and they were up 17-0.
For a while, it looked like it was going to come down to whether the Saints could hold on to their business because you thought the Rams had it in hand, but that's
right.
That's the NFL for you. Saturday night, this is the third meeting between these teams, same division rivals. The Bills hosting the Patriots -4 points.
Well, this is the same logic as you can't give Nick Saban 3 points. You have to take him. Well, didn't do you any good. But I'm holding on to the logic is you can't give Bill Belichick 4 points.
All right, we'll take the dog in that one as well to cover. Sunday, to start a triple header in the NFC, the Eagles at the Bucks. This was a regular season game. It was actually a fairly close game. This time the Bucks are laying 8.5.
I'd favorite.
Favorite there.
I mean, you obviously got a differential at quarterback, which works in your favor.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. Tom Brady and anybody, right?
Right.
The game of the weekend, maybe, I guess, would be 49ers Cowboys, a throwback to the 1990s. They're meeting in the playoffs. The Cowboys are minus a field goal here. Who do you like?
The 49ers.
40.
Cowboys always get a built in to picking against them because so many people pick them.
They haven't made a conference championship in 25 years now. That's the amazing thing. More than that, I think. Yeah. Sunday night football, Steelers at Chiefs. The Steelers were the benefit, but a lot of reward. They get to go play the Chiefs, who beat them 36-10 a few weeks ago. This time the Chiefs are laying 12.5.
Game, but the Steelers are not that bad, and it's just it's being the worst game, the biggest point spread, you name it, and they'll react to that.
Big Ben playing the woe is me card, and he's got something up his sleeve, maybe. And then we get our first ever Monday night playoff game. What do you think of the NFL's move to go to Monday night in the playoffs?
It's pretty good. The only thing, it a little bit, it shortens the recovery time, but I'm sure they'll play on Sunday.
Right.
So,
I would think.
But yeah, but people love football. I mean, they're watching it and spread it out, which is good. We got 2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. I mean, no, 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday.
48 of the top 50 television programs in September have been NFL games. So that goes to show you why they're doing it, because people will watch. Okay, so we have the Rams here who let the Saints down on Sunday. They are -4 points. You anger against the Rams and take the -4. Do we go with another dog?
We go with another dog. I wouldn't take. I wouldn't bet on the Rams to play me. The other thing, I don't even like the helmets. I don't like the uniforms. I like the helmets. I don't like anything about it.
Especially not now.
No.
All right. So all dogs except for, I believe, the Bucks. So dogs barking this week again with cashing in with Carville.
All right, Zach.
All right. We appreciate you joining us early morning in California.
You bet, man.
All right. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet.
For this week, and was I muted there for a second? We're having all sorts of problems today. That was cashing in with Carville for this week, and we are appreciative to James for being with us yet again, and he's going to continue to be with us every playoff week through the Super Bowl. You can make your picks against him. This is the last week of that contest, NOLA.com/cashing in. And again, NOLA.com/beatthepros, and we've got big prizes for that, including a trip to Vegas at the end of the year. So go to NOLA.com/beatthepros for that. And we'd also like to remind you, while we're in the marketing portion of the program, you can get $300 for signing up for the Caesars Sportsbook app. All you got to do is sign up. Don't have to put any money in. You don't even have to place a bet, although you're not going to get the $300 unless you bet it. And then if you do put money in, they will match up to $3,000 on top of the $300. So to get all that, go to NOLA.com/Caesars. The promo code will be automatically loaded in. All you have to do is type in NOLA.com/Caesars on your phone or on your computer, and you will get those big bonuses. So have at them. Guys, it's Wild Card Weekend. Devin, your favorite pick for Wild Card Weekend?
We talked about it earlier. I like the 49ers over the Cowboys. I just think coaching is going to become a big factor for Dallas. And this is a team that has the talent to make it to the Super Bowl. We mentioned it on the show, and you should put money down based on their on-field performance. But I just feel like Mike McCarthy is going to play a role at some point this postseason in terms of his inept coaching ability and time management situations. I think it's going to come back to haunt them specifically in this game. And I think Dallas is going to make a change at head coach next year because of it.
Wow, that's doubling down on it, man. That's a lot.
That's a lot of hate right there.
Maybe he's a Packers fan, sick of only one NFC championship in 12 years with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. All right, Jim, your favorite pick of the weekend?
I have two, really. I like Tampa Bay. It's hard. I mean, Tampa Bay's been great at home. The last time they played them in Philly, it was a closer game, but it really wasn't all that close. I think Tampa Bay's got a lot to prove coming up this weekend, and putting a lot of the stuff behind them that they had to put. They're getting healthier. They get Fournette back. I'm not impressed with Philadelphia at all. They're not going to be able to run the ball against Tampa Bay, and I think that could get ugly. The other one I like is, I mean, I know everybody loves Belichick and it's the playoffs, but Mac Jones is playing quarterback, and he hasn't been very good lately. And it's not going to be a windy game. They're not going to be able to just do what they did in that first game. I really like Buffalo this week, and I still think Buffalo might end up being the best team in the NFL right now. And I wouldn't want to play them this week. I wouldn't want to play them at all in Buffalo. And so those are my two best bets. I think Josh Allen's going to have a pretty good night, and I think Mac Jones is going to throw at least a couple picks.
Outside of those that you already mentioned, I mentioned I do like the Raiders, but I'm not super confident in that one. Probably my favorite pick of the weekend is Rams -4. And I don't love the Rams, but I just cannot imagine being confident in the Arizona Cardinals right now. I mean, what they've lost 5 out of 6. They had a chance to win the division last week, and okay, the Rams blew it, yes, but the Cardinals, I mean, they didn't even hardly show up. I mean, they got thumped by a Seahawks team that had nothing to play for. They were the hottest team in the NFL for 10 weeks, and they are the coldest team in the playoffs right now. So I can't imagine betting on the Cardinals.
Not only that, Zach, with what you said, to go along with that, people like to throw out Matt Stafford's record in the playoffs. Colin Murray hasn't played in the playoffs, and they've lost 4 out of their last 5 games. I know they won in Dallas, but I agree with you 100% on that.
And the last time those two teams played, the first time they played, the Cardinals won. Rams had some injuries. Second time they played, the Rams had COVID problems, and they still won pretty handedly in Phoenix, and now they're playing in LA. So I like the Rams, and I think they win fairly easily by 7 or 10 points in that Monday night game and move on to face probably the Packers. Well, it depends on who wins the other games, but we will be back on Monday. We'll recap it all on odds and ends. That's at 4 p.m. on the same bet.nola.com channels. We appreciate you for being with us. For Jim Derry and Devin Jackson, this has been At the Book. I'm Zach Ewing.